and welcome to Cooking with Michael and Candace. Michael got stuck at work tonight, so you're stuck with just me. Don't unclick yet, it's not going to be a vegan episode. This is going to be a crouton episode. You ever make your salad and then realize, oh no, I don't have any croutons? Or you look at the cost of the croutons at the store and think, that's ridiculous for what it is, right? So if you eat bread in your house on a regular basis, you do not need to buy croutons. You just take your leftover bread. In my case, my boys eat sandwiches for lunch all the time. So we have a lot of ends of loaves of white bread. Some people call them the butts. So we have a lot of these left over, and this is what I make my croutons with. But if you've got, the end of the loaf of Italian bread left over, even sourdough bread, pretty much almost any kind of bread will do for making croutons. So let's get to it. First thing you're going to need, obviously, is your leftover bread. You will also need a bowl, a baking pan, a cutting board, olive oil, salt, pepper, and your seasonings, other seasonings. I like to use crushed red pepper in mine. I like to have a little teeny bit of temperature. Some people don't like to have it, so totally optional. Garlic powder, onion powder. I like to have a little cayenne pepper in mine, not so much for the temperature, but to bring out all of the other flavors without having to use as much salt. I'm going to try parsley in mine. I've never tried parsley in my croutons before. Let's try it and see what happens, right? This entire recipe is basically found ingredients, so you can't waste that much money on it, right? It's probably a few cents. So why not experiment? So first I'm going to combine all of my spices first. I don't like to add my spices one at a time over my croutons because I don't want to have one really garlicky patch and one really cayenne peppery patch. I want that to be as distributed as evenly as possible. And the thing is, because bread is porous and it's got oil on it, and the oil isn't going to be distributed perfectly evenly. So you're going to have pockets where the flavoring, where the seasoning powders stick more than others. So you're never going to be able to get all of that mixed evenly unless you mix up your seasonings beforehand and mix those evenly before you put them on your bread. I hope that made sense. That was a lot of talking. I hope it was worth it. Okay, so seasonings first. I'm going to do my garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit. You're not doing this for the temperature, or you can if you want. This is to accentuate all the other flavors. And you can see, if I get my hands out the way, what a tiny amount of cayenne pepper is in there. I mean, it's not even an eighth of a teaspoon. Like I said, I'm going to try parsley, see how that turns out. I like a little temperature, and I like a little color, so I'm going to put a few pinches of crushed red pepper in. I like to salt the living shit out of my croutons. And the same with your black pepper. So you've got all your seasonings and spices and whatnot in here. Stir. Okay, now dice your bread. Try not to press down on your bread too much while you're slicing it, because of course you want to have separate pieces. I like to fluff mine up just to make sure I haven't gone and stuck them together. And you may wonder why I called this episode maybe a little green in the beginning. Well, it's because we're cutting down on waste, because normally you would just throw out the butts of your bread, right? And then go out and buy croutons, and those croutons are most likely going to be in a plastic, single-use plastic bag. You might even carry them home in a single-use plastic bag, right? But this way, you're making use of something that you've already paid for. You would otherwise throw it away, and you can make your croutons taste the way that you like them, and you're cutting out all that plastic and all that other waste. He had to have known how it worked. Something like this. If it's not vegan, it's going to be tree hugger, maybe it'll be dessert. Maybe next time he gets stuck at work on filling a night, I'll do dessert. Let us know in the comments. So it's all diced up. Now it's time to mix it all together. Oh, and preheat your oven to 375 before you get started. And just don't have to be delicate about it. It's just stale bread. All right, oil. And you oil just enough to cover most of the surface area of all your little would-be crouton bits. Okay, looks like I've got mine oiled enough. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfectly coated, perfectly evenly all the way around, and I really suck at this, don't I? But you see what it looks like. Take your seasonings, and if you don't like the seasonings that I'm using here, that's totally fine. You switch out what you want. Typically, I will put a little bit of lemon zest in mine with basil, but I wanted to try something different this time. So there's just a whole bunch. Just experiment with it. It's nothing but stale, would-be wasted bread anyway. So, short people, short people. See? There we go. You can mostly see it. There we go. So that's what it's going to look like before you put it in the oven. Put it onto your cookie sheet or baking sheet. Get them relatively even. I like to shake mine. You don't want to have a whole bunch of them touching. Obviously, they're not going to bake evenly that way. Okay, now I'm going to put this in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, but keep an eye on it because depending upon how stale and dry your bread is, it may cook a little faster. So keep peeking in on it every 5 minutes. And I'll show you what they look like when they're done cooking. Stop halfway through and flip them if you can. Otherwise, just stir them around. Probably another 5 minutes for my small little batch of croutons. Okay, so it's been about 15, 16 minutes, and I think mine is done. It looks done. Let's go check. At least I set my alarm. Yeah, they're done. These are done. This is what it will look like. Yes, there will be crumbs that are burnt. Just happens. You've got bread. It's going to turn into crumbs. So you just pick around those. When these cool off, just put them into your container, preferably a glass jar, with the lid sealed tightly. Now I'm going to pick one and then let it cool, because they did just come out of the oven, so they would normally be thought that's hot, but I refuse to burn myself, unlike some other people. Parsley was another good choice. Also, thank you to Andrew of Chapel Beer and Wine. If you find yourself in Germantown, Maryland area, and you would like some beer or some wine, go to the Chapel Hill Shopping Center and go to Fox Chapel Beer and Wine for Andrew's wide selection, best prices. Thank you everybody for watching, even though it was just little old me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Share with people you know. Share with people you don't know. Share it with people you hate. Just share it. Thank you, and we will both see you again next Saturday at 8 o'clock. As usual, every Saturday at 8 o'clock. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.